From Jurassic Park to Harry Potter, we're previewing the season opener of the Great Falls Symphony. Plus, we'll look ahead to what you can expect for the rest of the season. And the conductor emeritus tells us how he picks out his batons. That's coming up on this episode of We're No Damn Experts.
Best damn podcast, the best damn town. You wanna get up, get ready to get down. With its big wide sky and the wild river Thames, if you wanna go, we can take you there to Great Falls, Montana.
Welcome to the greatest damn town in Montana, Great Falls. I'm Rebecca Ingham.
And I'm Shannon Newth.
And we're
No Damn Experts.
So Shannon, today we've had a strew of guests. We haven't got to just sit here and talk to each other for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So we probably won't know how to do it when it comes that time again.
True.
But what's happening today?
Yeah, I'm really excited. I have special memories with both of these people who are in the room here. So I will introduce them. First off, we have Hillary Shepard, who is the executive director of the Great Falls Symphony. As I've mentioned before, my prior life in news, I had a program that I did called 5 Under 35, and Hillary was one of my 5 Under 35
Well done, Hillary.
honorees. And it was wonderful. I remember having just a wonderful conversation both on and off camera with you when we did that.
Yes, thank you. And I'm so not even close to under 35 anymore.
It's been a few years. It's fine. Yeah. It's still, you still qualify for that honoree or that
thanks.
honor. Yes.
Yep.
And then we also have Gordon Johnson here, who, help me with the title. Is it conductor emeritus
That's correct,
of the Great
Shannon.
Falls Symphony?
Yes.
Okay.
Ooh, that sounds like a fancy title.
It is a fancy title. Gordon and I have won awards together.
So
Yes.
we did Dancing with the
Dancing-
Stars
of Great Falls.
8 years ago.
Oh, it's been a while.
Long
yeah.
time. Anyway, we got Best Costume,
Mm-hmm. And
that's
People's
a good
Choice.
award.
Didn't we get People's Choice?
and she did a little aside to me as we got that award. She said, "If we just get if we just get Best Costume, I'm going to be upset."
It's like we did better than Best Costume.
People's Choice.
Ah.
Yes. So, Dancing with the Stars of Great Falls, we got paired randomly together
We did.
and then assigned a choreographer. And ours was a spin. It was like a hip-hop Mozart song.
First movement.
Holy moly.
Yeah.
Symphony 25 Mozart.
Yes, but like a very electric kind of hip-hoppy version.
Rum bum bum bum
you still
dum
got
bum
it.
bum.
Of
bum,
course you
bum,
know it.
bum,
Yes.
bum,
He probably
That's how it
picked the
starts.
music.
Yeah.
bum.
That's how it starts. Okay, and then so we had these I had like a George Washington kind of wig on, as did you, right?
You were dressed more like Maria Theresa.
Yes. And Gordon started by carrying me out onto the stage on one of his shoulders. I was sitting on one of his shoulders. People in podcast land can't see me, but I had to sit up very
Statuesque.
royal-esque, yes, with my hand in the air. And you did like this slow strut onto the stage
Right.
with me on your shoulder.
And gently delivered you to the stage.
Yes. And we had one point where I had like an outer skirt that
Oh.
ripped off in a spin.
Oh my!
I feel like I
I'm
remember
so
that. Yeah.
sad.
This is risque.
It's on
I
video
remember that
somewhere.
now.
Yes, I
I-
feel like because I had like these leggings on underneath, and it was when it went because it started very like, okay, this is Mozart, and then it
It kicked into sort
yes,
of a rock beat.
yes, and that's when we both
ripped open our clothes.
shed some layers.
Some layers.
Yes.
Yeah, some
There
layers.
now. Clothes strewn
yes.
about the stage.
Yes, but yes, our performance, Best Costume and People's Choice Award.
That was so much fun.
Yes, it was fun. We have that video somewhere. Maybe I should upload that and attach it to the show notes
I would
somewhere.
love that.
I want to see the practice sessions where you all are.
You know, we
Gordon's
worked pretty
working,
hard.
We did, and
Where
I
Gordon's carrying
yes,
you.
I was always
numerous
so
times.
nervous. I was like, "I'm sorry, Gordon. We don't need to practice this
Oh,
very
not
many
at
times."
all.
But, yeah.
You were innately graceful.
Well, you had the
Because-
hard job of carrying me on one shoulder.
But you had experience as, weren't you on a dance team
I
or
was a
something?
cheerleader.
In,
yeah.
in school.
Yeah.
And I had nothing. So,
But you knew the music inside and out.
I knew the
Yes,
tune.
yes. You kept us on perfect beat.
Yeah.
Ideally. Yes, yes. Anyway, these are our guests today. Two wonderful humans who we have here talking about, well, a lot of things, but mostly,
As
hopefully,
usual.
the symphony. Yes.
Anyone new to the podcast? No.
Yeah.
We're going to cover every
We'll
topic
cover
that
lots of things.
feels right for us today.
Yes.
Well, it's fun to be here. Thank you for having us.
Yes.
Yes, thank you so much.
Absolutely. So we are nearing the new season of the
Yes.
symphony. What can we expect this season?
Oh, so many great things are happening. And this opener is super fantastic. We've got Gordon coming back as music director
Yay!
emeritus to conduct this concert because Grant is away, about to have his very first baby
Yay,
with his
Grant.
wife. So
Yes.
yay, Grant.
Well done, Grant.
Yeah,
Good
I know.
job.
And Grant is the, for people who don't know,
Maestro.
Yes.
He is the non-emeritus
Yes.
maestro.
Acting.
Yes, and so Gordon graciously accepted the offer to come back and work with our group, and everybody's just really excited. It's like a little reunion, both for the audience and for the members that play on stage. And we're playing my favorite, John Williams music,
Oh, fun.
celebrating his 90th birthday this year. And for those of you who don't know John Williams as a
That'd be me.
household name,
Yes.
he has written tons of movie music over the years.
Oh.
Basically anything Steven Spielberg has directed, he has made the music for.
Oh, wow.
E.T., Star Wars, Jurassic Park, Harry Potter.
Oh, my goodness.
My husband and I just went through and watched all of the Jurassic Park, Jurassic World. We went through that whole thing. So now it's just that that music is just brilliant, and it's constantly in my head now.
Yeah.
But that's true of all of his music.
Right.
It feels like.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's especially special for me because John Williams' music is why I got into music in the first place.
Oh,
He was
wow.
that inspiration, you know. And believe it or not, the music is very hard. So it's a legit thing to master if you're going to play it as well. So the brass instrumentalists on stage are going to be working especially hard because John Williams loves to write for trumpet and French horn, and it's going to be a fun time. Yeah. So this is the opener on October 1st. That is very exciting, and we've got just tons of great stuff for the rest of the season.
How many years now is this? What season
This
is
is the 64th.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's
So
exciting.
we've been around for a while, and this is the very first year that we've taken over our own ticketing.
Oh.
I know. After 64 years of using,
We're going to try something new.
Yeah.
yeah, it's been a wonderful exercise in patience and precision to get us transferred over there. But what it also has done is allowed us to really better serve our patrons and to have a lot of fun promotions and lots of different events happening on that we wouldn't have necessarily been able to do without our own ticketing system. So very excited about that from an administrative side.
Yes.
Well, that is exciting. Being as it takes 9 months to brew a baby, Gordon, did you have any input on the season? Like,
No, I did not.
you just got a call like last week and said, "Hey,
Well, not,
Grant's heading out of town.
So you're here,
We got a
right?
problem."
no, they've given me more lead time. But I was very grateful to get the invitation, certainly. And I know this orchestra very well. I was music director for over 3 decades, a long time. And
had a hand in bringing Grant on as your replacement.
I had the great pleasure of being involved in that search season,
Yeah.
and so was indirectly able to have input, I guess, on who my successor would be, and that's 5 years ago.
I was just going to ask how long it feels like 2 or 3 years.
5 years
5.
ago.
Wow.
I know. I was at a youth orchestra concert last spring, and Grant from the stage said, "Well, it's been my great pleasure to do this for 5 years." And I'm sitting in the audience going, 5
You're
years?
like, wait a second, I was there.
Where
Wait,
did
no.
where'd that
Yeah.
time go?
That can't possibly
Right,
be
yeah.
right.
Yeah. Wow.
But anyway, so for me to come back and reconnect with the people on stage, and there's going to be new musicians. There's going to be a great pleasure for me, and I'm very much looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Well, that is pretty exciting.
Have you directed in that time span that you were musical director? Did you do John Williams music during that time frame?
Yes, I have done some. I've done in the time that I've left the position of Great Falls, I've done concerts all over the place, and some of them have been Pops concerts. And any time you have a Pops concert, you really do need to include some John Williams.
Yeah.
90 years old or not.
It seems like a crime not to include his in a pop concert.
It's part of who we are as Americans.
Yeah.
And the American film industry really defines America to a great sense. I mean, if you travel throughout the world, what people think of when they think of the American product, they're going to think of the film industry.
Yeah. That's a good point.
And, and so when they go to these American films, as you said earlier, the Jurassic Park, my first encounter was Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Okay.
That I saw in a theater.
I just recently saw that.
Yeah, and that was the first time that I was that I encountered John Williams' music, and incredibly effective. But at that point in time, I had no idea of the range that he would accomplish over time.
Yeah.
Fun fact about him, too. He didn't rely on any technology to write, as I'm going to talk about technology this whole podcast, I guess. He didn't rely on any technology to write his music. He scored everything from a piano.
Oh, my goodness.
And hand wrote all of his scores. So it was just a brilliant mind.
When he was a younger man, he would compose the music at the piano, and then he would orchestrate it. And then his career became such that it was in such great demand that he has orchestrators. So he'll still compose at the piano, but then he'll say, Rebecca, score this for this particular purpose.
Yeah, and then Rebecca says, what does any of that, mean?
Yeah.
Where do I start?
For our listeners that have no idea, not for me, what does orchestrate mean? Like, I get writing on the piano, writing your notes
scoring
down.
it.
Yeah.
What you're trying to do is evoke human emotion that is consistent with what's happening on the screen.
Oh, okay.
And so Hillary already made a reference to his skill in writing for brass instruments. So what John Williams does is he gets footage from Spielberg or whomever, it's mostly Spielberg, and watches the film and then creates music that amplifies the content of emotional message that the film director is trying to portray visually. And so you've got the visual sense that you see on the screen, but then that is amplified, augmented by another sense, and that's the oral sense. And so that's a tremendous skill, and it takes a great sensitivity from a musician to make sure that that combination works.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to just build on that with the orchestration element of it, if you were to kind of map out a theme of what it will generally sound like and some other thematic elements, then somebody can take that melody and start to build on it with the different orchestral instruments that are available to them. So, a quiet flute solo to show emotion in one way is going to be very different than a full brass ensemble showing something another way that might be very celebratory or something like that. So that's what's actually being written out, is those individual parts.
I'm ready to do it now.
Bring her a script.
Talk you into it.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Well, I think about that. I mean, just the emotional component of music in general. I know that I love music, but I very it greatly affects my emotions. So I have to be kind of in the right state to listen to things or get me out of a funk. But speaking specifically about John Williams, and just because I watched recently all the Jurassic Park films, so it's constantly, I mean, we have this T-Rex statue, urban art here up above the visitor center.
Love it.
I went and got footage of that, and I, was humming the theme song while I was getting the footage. And I went out to Ryan Dam here, and again, because I had just rewatched the movies, in the movies where they're in the bird cage with all the pterodactyls and stuff, I was walking down to Ryan Dam, the entrance before the bridge has all of this foliage on it. And in my head, I'm playing the da 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 as I'm walking. I'm like, oh my gosh, am I in the bird cage? But it's amazing what things trigger your memory and the experience, and just how it makes you feel and remember things. And just incredible.
And to really, this is a really funny video. I don't have the link on it today, so just look it up on YouTube. It's capturing what that throne room scene at the end of Star Wars Episode 4 would be like if there were no music.
There's no music, yeah.
And it's
It just looks silly,
it's
actually.
just like a quiet,
Absolutely
ridiculous, like footprints or something. Or
and then like
walking.
a random Wookiee growl or something like that.
You're just
it was just the epitome of awkward, actually.
Yeah.
So go check that out on YouTube, and it will just really illustrate what it is that we're saying here and how important music is in everyone's lives, and it's so a part of our being that we may not even recognize it.
But Shannon, what you said earlier really just defines what the genius is. If that experience that you had couples with your memory of the music, then we're talking about somebody of genius who can make that happen.
Right. Who can connect the moments, the feel, the imagery.
Insert it in your, I'm going to say brain, but it's deeper than that and who you are.
Because it's the feel of it too.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
And that's what you will feel if you come to the concert.
When you are at the concert.
Absolutely. When you're at the concert. Got to get your
October.
tickets now, because actually the theater's already filling up really fast. People knew that we were switching over to singles at midnight, and we had many orders at 12:05.
Nice.
So this
High
is
demand.
a popular one. It'll be pretty packed. So if you're planning on coming, get those tickets.
Get your tickets now.
Yeah.
So what other music are we going to get to hear this season?
Well, for those of you who are familiar with Pink Martini, they came here a few years ago. They're actually they were here in April of 2019, and they're coming back in May of 2023, and they are just a really fantastic 18-piece band that everything that they have had so many albums, just everything that they perform is got this sort of a jazzy vibe, but it's also pop music, and they sing in other languages too. And it's such a fun time. I mean, the entire audience got up and did the conga line at one point.
They did.
That's not
Up
something
across
you would
the
expect
stage.
at a symphony performance. No, that's
Oh,
amazing.
It's awesome. And they come in and they work with our orchestra, and we rehearse a couple of times, and Grant will be back conducting, and the orchestra is there to add to their performance as well. So it's a great time, and that's our special event in May. And
just the name makes it sound like a fun time.
Oh, they're a lot of fun.
tons of fun. So that's something not to be missed. The weather is going to be wonderful in May. For those of you who are out of town listening to this podcast, come on down, spend a few days, and enjoy some Pink Martini while you're here too.
Did we just bookend the season?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the beginning and the end.
That's awesome.
I love it.
I love that I'm tracking that.
Yeah.
Well, let me say a few words about the middle. And the middle
I'm
is
hoping we got
through
a
there.
lot more words than just
the
the
beginning, the end, and the middle. I just want to give a shout out to the Great Falls Symphony organization, and it's one of Great Falls' treasures. It truly is. And there's 70 musicians, and most of them
That's a lot.
most of them are locals. We have what we call core musicians. I'll get to that in a moment. But all of these musicians have started someplace. They started in 5th grade or in 6th grade, and they took up an instrument in school probably, and it helped them find and define who they are. Now, they may have gone on to different professions. They may have gone on to be accountants or teachers or attorneys or whatever, but they still find fulfillment through playing music, not only for themselves, but for those people who come to hear them play. It's an incredible thing. And so the Great Falls Symphony offers that opportunity for people, not only the orchestra, but we have a large symphonic choir as well. So all those people, our community people, are part and parcel of what makes this organization tick. And I think it's an extraordinary thing on several different levels. But I think most of all, for me, is to watch as a conductor these people find fulfillment. They may have had a rotten day at work. Their kids may have given them sass back. Their husband may have complained about them going out 3 nights a week because they've got rehearsals. But when they get into that rehearsal 15, 20 minutes in, you can see through their faces the transformation that they're doing something remarkable for themselves that they're going to share with others. So I think it's one of the greatest human resources that we have in Great Falls.
So, Gordon, we've visited with Hillary in the past about the instruments that she plays.
She's one of them, by the way. She's one of these people, one of the extraordinary ones.
So when she's had a tough day at work trying to deal with you,
busts out the clarinet. And heads.
Just kidding.
We can get into that later on.
Just kidding.
So, I mean, honestly, I don't play that much anymore. A lot of my work demands
Not playing.
And I do miss it. But I certainly did start here. I started here in the Great Falls Public Schools, and I was in the youth orchestra program that the symphony has, and grew up through that. And I got a full ride to college to study music, and then I came back and I performed in the symphony for a while pregnant, actually. That was interesting. The nerves didn't do well with the stomach, but
and the breathing part, I would imagine that would get a little tricky too.
It started to get a little tricky.
Yeah.
So I kind of took a hiatus after that, but the element of playing, it's just a lifelong passion, and it really is kind of one of those game face things. Like once you get on stage to rehearse, all of the tiredness and all the worries of the day is gone because you're doing something else that's really fulfilling. But yeah, I have a lot of perpetual jokes on how I'm never going to be the principal clarinet. I'm always the second. I'm never good enough for the first.
Always the bridesmaid, never the bride.
It's true.
So, Gordon, what instruments do you play?
I played French horn. I was one of those kids that in school, they gave me a trumpet. My dad played trumpet, actually.
Okay.
And so I took his trumpet to school, and I didn't like the sound of it, and I wanted to quit. And our band director, I think it was 7th grade, said, well, we need French horn players. Anybody want to volunteer to play French horn? And I raised my hand. I thought, what the hell, you know? And I took it home, and it was like the sound just, I fell in love with that sound.
Yeah.
And then I got curious about the other instruments, and before too long, I'm telling you, my band director and my parents said I want to become an orchestral conductor. And they looked at me with great concern. Great concern.
But why?
Particularly my father, who thought I'd be living in his basement for the remainder of my life. But I've been very blessed and very fortunate it all worked out. But yeah.
Do you still not like the sound of trumpets?
Not as well as the horn.
Yeah.
Did you ever play in an orchestra?
Oh,
or
absolutely.
This orchestra?
Absolutely, yeah. In fact, in my development as a conductor, you go to graduate school and you go to workshops and all that business and get trained on how to be a conductor. But I'll tell you, where I learned the most about conducting is being in the orchestra. And so you're in the back of the orchestra where the horns sit, and you're looking at a conductor and you're thinking, whoa, that didn't work so well. or he or she will make a snarky comment, you know, to the orchestra, and you think, do you think that made it better? No. So, I mean, so you really just learn a lot by being involved. And each section, I mean, this is a whole topic, another whole podcast. I'll come back.
Okay.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Sounds great.
I
Anyway,
love it.
but each instrumental section has its own personality. You know, the brass players are sort of, you know, overt, and sometimes trumpets are egotistical, and horns think they're better than everybody else. The cellos are mellow people. I mean, on and on.
What about the
That's true.
percussion people? They seem fun.
They are crazy. They're just flat out crazy.
Yeah.
You know, and yeah. So each group has its own personality. And
By the way, he didn't mention that clarinets.
I
dorks.
purposefully
Wow.
left that out.
Oh wow.
I didn't want to
His
inspire
personal
controversy.
opinion,
Yeah.
We're such nerds.
Oh.
Well, I had the honor of getting to host the symphony's Halloween performance.
Oh, you did so well.
And the
I remember that.
The thing that just shocked me, and I played the flute growing up because that's what my mom had, and that's what you played because that's what was in the house.
I played the recorder. That was the extent of my instruments.
And there was percussion, but I'd never looked at percussion sheet music.
Yeah.
I looked at the percussion sheet music during the Halloween concert. I'm like, how do you even know what's going on? There's just an X there.
Yeah. Your percussion is that people think, oh, you hit stuff, you strike stuff. And that's not at all. You're pulling sound out of things.
Yeah.
Oh,
You're pulling a sound out of a
like
triangle.
a mind warp trying to think of it that way.
Yeah, it is. And it sort of helps you develop a concept of timbre, of sound that you're trying to get. Anyway.
Yeah, just looking at that sheet music, I'm like, how do you even read this? Like, they're like, we do it, and I'm like, yeah, I saw
guess
that,
you do.
but-
Yeah.
Yes, I even think it's pretty tough. I mean, I got a degree in music, and I look at that going, oh,
You're like,
no.
there's nothing there. What is it? Yeah.
Because it's triangle, it's drums, it's cymbals, and I asked them because like there's the slapping of the hand, and then they do this spin around the edge of the tambourine. I'm
Yeah,
like,
right.
looking at the music, I'm like, how do you know it says to do
It's
that?
a spin versus a
Like,
slap and a
But, you know,
Shake.
getting back to a John Williams, though, just think of a composer who has a whole arsenal of percussion instruments back there, and being able to skillfully use these instruments of this incredible range to impact and affect in a compositional score. I mean,
It's crazy.
it's genius. If you
it is genius.
know exactly when the bright sound of a triangle makes an effect, creates an effect.
Yeah.
Yeah, so when I'm going to be orchestrating music, I'll go, oh, this is perfect for a spin.
For a little slap.
Spin
Yeah.
along. Nope, we're just going to do a tap.
You know, I think you should just go the composer route because
Yeah.
Danny Elfman, and maybe you know more about this, but I heard that Danny Elfman, who's done many, many scores and has a very distinct sound, like Nightmare Before Christmas, that movie.
Oh.
He's done a ton of stuff like that. Edward Scissorhands, things like that. Beautiful music.
Yeah.
That he basically just sings into some sort of recording device what he wants it to sound like, and then he
I would like to hear.
delegates.
I would like to hear that. I feel like that
Figure
would
it
make it
out
sound
from there.
horror movie-ish. Yeah.
And if that is true, it's like, man, I miss my calling.
Yeah. Right. That's your style. Mhm.
I've not missed my calling.
That could work for you. Yeah.
No, it would be the most. Well, I think it would be sought after because people would go, man, that was the most awful thing I have ever experienced in my life.
So it would be
Like,
cherished
they've ne-
because of its awfulness.
They've never even taken a class in how to put music together. And I'd be like, yep, that is true.
That's it.
Well, you know, when people think of composers, they think we've talked about Mozart earlier on, 200 and 300 years back, and then Beethoven, and even more contemporary classical composers like Bernstein and Copland and such. The skill or the process of writing film music is completely different. And like Hillary said, Danny Elfman, who really doesn't read notes. I've got a very good friend. I'll talk about this later on. Who's an orchestrator, and he orchestrates a lot of Danny's music. In fact, did Nightmare Before Christmas, and Danny does drive down. He lives in L.A. and he's driving down, traffic jams, and he's singing into his recorder, stuff he's got
While
in
he's
his
in the
mind.
middle of traffic jams.
Yeah,
This
right.
is probably
And then he's got people who orchestrate it, and we talked about that earlier. But then the process of putting it all together is a very unique process in that you've got a studio orchestra, and it's not the music isn't delivered to the musicians in the same manner that they are at a symphony concert, because when we're doing Jurassic Park, for example, at this concert on October 1st. And so the orchestral parts in front of a violinist might be 8 or 10 pages, whereas during the studio recording process, it might be 1 or 2 pages, because very infrequently do the cuts go more than 3.5 minutes.
Oh.
So
And how long is it? You know this, Gordon, because you've done some recording
I've done
yourself.
some
How long
recording.
does it take to do a couple minutes? What's the formula?
When I've been hired to do film recording, the goal is to have 7.5 usable minutes per hour,
Wow.
which sounds remarkably small, doesn't it?
No, but
Yeah,
that's
seems
a long.
like should be able to make that happen.
I know.
But that's a long time though when you think about every note and measure that goes into 7 or 8 minutes long. I mean, that's a long time.
So having an orchestra is very expensive, a studio orchestra.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll have A, B, and C, and sometimes D sessions. And the A session is with the full orchestra, everybody on stage, all your percussion players and everything. Whereas your B orchestra might just be the strings. A C orchestra or a C session might be the choir. And then you might have a D session that has a children's choir or a soloist. And so when you're doing a recording session, you start at 8 in the morning, you're done about 10:30 or 11 at night.
Yeah.
Because you're trying to maximize the time in the studio, because the studio costs a lot of money too, with all the engineers and the equipment and on
Well,
and on.
it's 100+ people.
It is.
Yeah.
And so I did some recording, I don't know how many years ago, at Abbey Road Studios. And
Oh my
so, so
gosh,
you're with
wow.
the LSO, London Symphony Orchestra, and they don't take that music home and practice it. They just show up at 8 in the morning and it's on the stand. And so the first thing you do is you take the orchestra through, Q72 or something like that, which might be a 5-minute cue, while the engineers are in there fussing with the microphones like we were doing earlier today.
Uh-huh.
And then you do a take. And naturally, somebody will make a mistake in there, and then you take another take. And by the time you get your third take, you're hoping that you've got something that's usable.
And these are the best of the best.
These
mean,
are the
really-
best of the best. They're the people you're hearing on the tracks for Harry Potter's and Jurassic Park.
Which, by the way, our orchestra did the first Harry Potter movie with the movie a couple years back. And they sounded just as good, in my opinion. They really prepared. And that was, an 85-page book of violin music and tons of really hard stuff. Also John Williams.
Yeah.
And that just is meant to show the level of professionalism of our orchestra. Yes, most of these folks are from Great Falls. And that's so great because they're amazing. They're professional level musicians that can pull off the same stuff that the musicians in the Abbey Road studios can do. And Gordon, I know that you said that you would talk about our core musicians here, but I'm on the roll, so stop me if you need to. But the core musicians play principal parts, so they're the first chairs of the orchestra, and they also have their own.
It's like the varsity squad.
They are the varsity squad,
Yeah.
and we do.
That's good.
It's great. It's true.
For us to not in the non-musical world.
Oh, and the process of picking them is very similar too.
Yeah.
It's very,
I want him on my team.
Red Rover, Red Rovers. And Hillary right over. Yeah.
we do a national search, and these pro musicians from all over the country apply, and the top 4 come to Great Falls for a live audition, and the first half of it is behind a screen, so you can't even see them. You're just hearing them. And then there's a whole interview process and everything too, because the people that we bring to our community serve multiple purposes. They don't just serve the orchestra by being the best of the best. They also are teachers in our community. And so they have to have the personalities to interact with people, and that's not always a given when you're speaking with musicians in the classical field.
Well, and when you're bringing them to a community like this, because they're probably in graduate school in Baltimore or in Chicago, a big market.
Yeah.
And then you're inviting them to here. And so it's got to be a good fit. They got to be people who,
They want to be here and
to be
appreciate
here.
our community.
If you're playing in the Los Angeles Philharmonic and you go to the grocery store to pick up a quart of milk, nobody knows who the heck you are.
Right.
Yeah.
But if you're a core musician in Great Falls, they're going to say, "Oh, you're the principal flute player in the symphony," and so that sort of singles you out in a very positive manner.
It's a level of prestige and recognition.
It is indeed, and you're adding a lot to the community. And you mentioned that it's a very, I think, interesting process. The audition process is, and Hillary mentioned the screen. Well, that harkens back to, I don't know how many years ago, but so there's no discrimination associated in the process.
It's like on The Voice when they don't turn around till they like the till they
well,
like the
you know, back in the day, there were fewer women in the orchestra, and so you don't know if it's male or female.
Yeah.
But you know, if they're black or white, tall or short, whatever. And at one point in time, I said to our committee, I said, "Do we really need this screen anymore? Because haven't we come farther as people?" And I got the same reaction that Rebecca just gave me.
Yeah.
The raised eyebrow.
like,
Maybe we
you
haven't.
would hope.
You would
but
hope.
yeah.
Exactly.
And it's a double protection. So it's a protection for them, but it's a protection for us to also say we did our due diligence. But I did challenge our selection committee to interview first, to get those scores down for the interview and the rubric first, so that can be measured before there's a cut. Because it really is important for us to have holistically excellent people coming to our community to live here as musicians, because we want them to have a big studio. We want the music program as a whole to thrive, and we need to be able to have something that the Great Falls Public Schools program would hire as far as their ability to speak to students and the community and all that stuff. So it's super important. So I would rather have that score down before we say, okay, you didn't make the cut because you didn't get your, doctorate or something like that.
And this wouldn't be important in Chicago or LA, but it is important here. It is important that these people have the personality to connect. They help us draw audience in. 1, 2, it helps our community in terms of having resource of really excellent private teachers who will interact effectively with youth. And all of us are emissaries. When I say all of us, Hillary, myself, Grant, the core musicians, we are emissaries for the Great Falls Symphony Association. When we go out, I want people to look at us and say, "Oh, you're with the symphony," and we can feel proud. Yes, we are. And
I also want to share something else that's really special about Great Falls and our symphony is that we are truly a purple unicorn in the United States as far as how our organization is set up and all of the wonderful things that we're able to accomplish. Most symphony orchestras don't have a core group of professionals at our level.
Oh, wow.
In fact, I only found one other one, and Gordon, I think, maybe found another one that I haven't spoken with, but I spoke with the other one that was in Texas just a couple months ago. And, and our budget is about 1.1 million. And to be able to do all of the programs that we're doing and accomplish all the things that we're doing, it's incredible. I mean, no other orchestra like that just doesn't exist. That model just doesn't exist in the United States. And it's all privately funded too. That's another thing. The big European orchestras and things like that, their government supports them to the tune of $4 to $5 million every single year.
Oh,
so
wow.
they've got this base of budget to work with, and we're scrappy. We don't have that. We're a 501c3 nonprofit organization that makes sure that the good work that we're doing to serve Great Falls and the community beyond is happening every single year. So,
I want to recognize too our relationship with the Great Falls Public Schools. And I mentioned earlier that most of these people started in 4th or 5th grade.
Yeah.
And they continued on because they like the programs, whether it be orchestra, band, or choir, and have assimilated that skill throughout their life. But the Great Falls Public Schools has for the longest time, as long as I can remember, has had a very strong commitment to music education and has an award-winning program that they've been awarded national awards for the past 15, 20 years. And so we're the recipient of their dedication. And we work in tandem in making sure that what we do benefits the community. It makes this a better place to live. And that's what you guys are all about, isn't it? You want people to come here, and you want them to be happy, have lifestyles, and to contribute to the qualities of life that we all have come to enjoy. And I think the schools have been exemplary in that, and so it's been our great pride to be with them in working towards that united goal.
absolutely.
So back to some music.
Meanwhile,
which is all true and amazing, and couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
What other music are we going to hear out of this season at the Symphony?
Okay, well, we're also at the Newberry this year. That's a new thing for us. So the Newberry Have you had prior guests?
Montana's newest concert venue.
Absolutely.
Downtown
and
Great
it
Falls.
is fantastic, and we love the owners. And we are doing a Friday night chamber music series there this year, which will feature both of our core groups that we were just talking about, our Chinook Winds Quintet and our Cascade String Quartet. And it's going to be an awesome concert series that is meant for people to dress up for the night. Go down to the Newberry. We sold out all of our VIP seats. So the only seats that are left now are the main floor seating, the theater seating, but that's okay because you still get complimentary appetizers when you come in, and you can get drinks and just have a really nice date night or a night out with friends.
Sound like fun.
And listen to really, really great orchestral music from total pros. I mean, these guys are amazing. So that's happening all season long over at the Newberry. There's going to be 7 concerts. Usually about 1 per month. That's how that's spaced out. And then we are just having an awesome rest of our orchestral series too. We've got the Christmas concert, which is always a really great draw
about
for
the Christmas one.
Yeah,
That's always, I feel like a popular time when people remember, oh, hey, we have a symphony. We should go see that.
Exactly.
And we have a symphony all year
Yeah,
long.
we sure
but
do.
They
people
remember in December.
right, yes.
Absolutely. And we'll be playing some music from Polar Express for those of you
fun.
who are familiar with that, and lots of other great Christmas sing-alongs, and it's just a fun time there. And
Santa usually stops by, doesn't he?
Does.
Yes.
That's right.
Absolutely. We can pull his arm again this year.
Well, you hit on something that's really important, Hillary, and that is that, we're talking about symphony. We're talking about symphony orchestras and this sort of business that we're in. But I've talked to so many people in our community that say, well, it's wonderful that there's a symphony here, but I don't like classical music. I don't know much about. A lot of people are intimidated by classical music, and one of the things that drives me crazy is you don't see it so much now, but it used to be on commercials for high-end cars or watches and stuff like that. A princess-looking woman with her tiara in a box going to a concert. No, that's not what it's about.
Yeah.
It's
much more relaxed.
It's more relaxed. It's a lot about the socialization.
Yeah.
You meet a lot of wonderful people, and there is snacks, there are drinks. It's fun, and I think that is really important for people to remember.
It makes the music and lifestyle of it, if you will, much more accessible.
It's an experience. You go to it, and you were mentioning too, I mean, we have a special event called Black Tie Blue Jeans, and there's other things that we do, but for some, it allows you to wear your nice jewelry. Otherwise, your husband doesn't take you to a place where you can wear your nice jewelry.
Absolutely.
Robert.
Yeah. And so there's all kinds of reasons to come to the symphony. And don't be intimidated. My goodness gracious.
Well, and the big thing,
I get all my dresses from Ross typically.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, it works.
It doesn't need to be this super fancy.
No.
This segment brought to you by Ross Dress for Less.
we'll send you the invoice.
Yeah,
right. But there's so much to be said about the experience that a traveler can have to show up, do world-class symphony, just really from a musical standpoint, and then go hit the trail the next day.
Right.
Absolutely.
All right here in Great Falls.
Absolutely.
And those are the kind of experiences that, honestly, and we've done that episode of... we're not cool enough to go to the symphony, and Hillary was like, no, everybody's cool enough to go to the symphony. And so we have had those discussions about how accessible it is to just experience that kind of music. And then once you go, I could remember practicing again for the Halloween concert, and Grant's like, we're gonna need to do that again. And Monty turned to me and he's like, what did they screw up? I'm like, I have no clue what they screwed up.
Did we screw up? What just happened?
I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
That's funny.
You just wanted to take Grant to the side and go, hey, they're
That
sounding
sounds
good.
great.
Leave 'em alone.
I don't know what you're getting your underoos so twisted about, but they sounded amazing.
Well, it's really fun. I've been for 5 years, I've been in the balcony as an audience member.
Yeah.
And that's a completely new experience for me. And so I've been learning a lot. I'll be in my seat. And at intermission, it's a phenomenon in itself. Is everybody stands up because they need to stretch.
You do need to stretch.
They turn to the person next to them, behind them, And it's really hard to conclude an intermission because people are having so much fun visiting and connecting. And so I would say to anybody who's listening to this podcast and is new to town and saying, boy, I'd sure like to meet some people. You need to come to this October 1st concert and the ones remaining, because you'll meet a ton of people and you'll make connections that are going to make your stay here in town, your life here in town, even more vibrant than the trail or the Giant Springs or all the amenities we have here to offer.
Being an audience member, I am unable to pick up on any errors that would ever be made. Do you?
My wife won't sit next to me.
She's just like, hush.
Because every so often I'll go,
She's like, oh my gosh, what happened?
But Gordon,
the hand will come on my knee.
I know it's probably a knee-jerk reaction.
Calm.
Probably a knee-jerk reaction, but need we revisit when Yo-Yo Ma came to visit town and all the things that went wrong that particular concert?
No.
The audience had no clue.
They did.
It was that. Okay.
It was that.
Okay.
massive.
And it wasn't due to lack of skill of everyone. It was, a mixture of things.
Oh my God. It was
Potted plants being tripped over.
Oh no.
Electricity issues.
Oh my.
Starting the wrong piece.
So here we had. So here we
Oh
had.
dear.
It was the symphony's biggest moment.
Yeah.
To date. To that point.
Yeah.
When Yo-Yo Ma was here, and that's almost 20 years ago, isn't it?
It's been a while now.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was huge. Every seat was sold, and oh my God, the anticipation was huge.
Yeah.
And then we get to the concert night, and I started with an overture before he came out. Well, halfway through the overture, the guy backstage trips over a chord, and everything goes black.
Oh no.
And the orchestra that knew the piece pretty well keeps playing for about 10 more bars, and then we're all like, we're out of luck. So they get the lights up and running, and that's all good. And
gosh.
Then Yo-Yo Ma comes out, and the crowd goes nuts.
Yeah.
And he's doing two pieces. And one has a big, strong start, and the other one has a very gentle, soft start. Well, I get up, and I give this strong downbeat, and he looks at me like,
Uh-oh.
I thought we were playing the other piece first.
Oh gosh.
So it's almost as though it was scripted by Harold Ramis or somebody who writes comedies. I walk back to the dress. My librarian had put the wrong score out.
Blame it on the librarian.
Yeah.
Hey, someone's taking the blame.
Yeah,
And people afterwards said, that
gosh.
was so clever. You guys are so funny. So they thought it was scripted.
Brilliant. Oh my gosh.
And I just let it go.
Yes, you're like, yes, it was brilliant. Yes, you're right. It was
I just let it go.
perfectly comedic. Yes.
So
no.
didn't you step into plant too?
That wasn't me.
Oh,
It was the librarian.
Yeah. The librarian again, causing all the problems.
Oh.
But
Oh
I
my
have to
goodness.
think not everyone in the audience is as well versed in what the music is supposed to
Right.
sound
Oh, not
like.
at all.
Or
So
picks
they're
up
not
on
going
those
to
little
notice
things.
unless the lights do go out or
no.
Yeah.
No.
Or yo-yo
and your
mobs.
finale concert when the
She's
that
full
was
of 'em here.
fantastic. I mean, that just played into it. Do you remember when we were doing the 1812 overture, and it was
Oh my God.
the cannons were going off.
Oh my God. Oh my God. So anyway, we finished with 1812 Overture, and so you can't blow off a cannon in the Civic Center. I don't know what their problem is, but you can't.
what a freaking issue.
Yeah.
So anyway, I've got a synthesizer back there, and we had rehearsals where the guy would play Hal would play this note, and I said, no, it's not deep enough, not in resonant. Okay, nope, too bright. So we must have spent 35 minutes, and he'd be hitting all these what they're called patches.
Okay.
So you have an infinite variety of sounds you can get from this electronic keyboard. And I wanted it louder. So we finally got it the way I wanted, right? So during the performance, we're going along, trucking along, everything's going just smashingly, and in come the cannons. What I didn't know, what the orchestra didn't know, was it set off the Civic Center's fire alarm system.
no.
Oh my gosh.
So during the final bars of 1812 Overture by Tchaikovsky, there's fire trucks coming from every direction to the
it
Civic
was a real
Center.
finale for
It-
you.
That's
yeah.
quite
We
the
were supposed
finale.
to evacuated, but we didn't know.
Oh my gosh.
So we caught hell from the fire department for
And
not.
this was your last
Yeah,
official
yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Well,
No
thank God you're
do-overs
back.
for me.
Thank God you're back for
yeah, you
this
get another.
season.
Yeah, you get another chance here.
I
yeah,
guess.
yeah.
But honestly, I mean, where else in the world are you going to have a symphony that may just completely derail? I think it is definitely worth a weekend in
It
Great
sure
Falls.
is. Yeah.
Well, here
You
we
never
go.
know what you're gonna get.
You're not.
Yeah.
You don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will say, so I was remembering I got to be up on stage and have the perspective of a musician without having to play music when we did the Lewis and Clark memorial.
You
I'm spacing
did-
that. I was the narrator, if
You
you
were the
will.
narrator
I
for-
read parts.
It was called From the Journals of Lewis and
There
Clark.
it is.
Yeah.
Yes. So
Yeah.
I read portions of. I was the narrator or the
Yes.
female narrator.
And you were excellent.
Oh, well, thank you. But yes, thank you for clapping. So I got to read parts of the journal, the
Yes.
narration
Yes.
portions in between the music up there, which was so cool for me to get that perspective of basically, because I was kind of intermingled standing among the musicians.
Over by the violins. yeah.
Yes, and that was just such an incredible experience to get to be on the stage without having to, without being a musician, and get that view of it, and then
Yes.
also watch you
Yeah.
conduct from the other side, which I was really glad you were there because
I gave you the
you
cue.
got I got the cue. Yes, otherwise I probably would have been somewhat lost in what was happening.
Yeah.
But it's so. Where I'm going with this too is that for
You're not just bragging
besides
about
just
how
being
cool
like,
you
I
are.
got to talk on stage about Lewis and Clark. No, but for me to get that kind of up close personal perspective, but for a conductor, if you think of a conductor, people just kind of wave their like a conductor's waves their arms, waves their hands. What are some what does that
Do.
mean? I mean, what is, as an audience member, without getting too nitty gritty,
Right.
what should I be watching for you as the conductor? And it's also fun because when you get really into it,
Yeah,
you can
right.
see
Then
it.
you-
But what are
Right.
some of the arm? What are you doing?
Well,
up there?
first of
Yeah.
all,
What
most
are
of
good motions versus angry motions?
angry emotions. Well, it's nonverbal communication, and
Mm-hmm.
you really have to have almost an endless vocabulary with a baton.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the work that one does is done in rehearsals. And once you work with the orchestra and they know what you're wanting, what the composer is intending,
Mm-hmm.
then at the performance, they're pretty much on remote.
Mm-hmm.
And the conductor then is sort of a guidance factor along the way. But your gestures have to be meaningful. You just can't flail around with your arms. And, you have
What I was just doing.
short, heavy gestures or
Mm-hmm.
gentle gestures, but you really have to have almost an endless vocabulary with this stick.
Mm-hmm.
You have to make yourself interesting.
Or or else they really won't look.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's
You
true.
have
Or if
to
they
make
don't,
yourself
or if they,
interesting.
with and this is something that Grant has discussed. He thinks he can do a whole series on this. I believe him. And that the problem with orchestras today worldwide isn't the musicians; it's the conductors.
That's true.
And that an orchestra can sound really great and have a really terrible conductor, and nobody will know it. And so they can continue being terrible, and not. And the musicians will just do their work,
Right.
and they'll just ignore the conductor. And they are a vital element of the success of the organization or of the group overall.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so much great expression that can come out from even the conductor's facial expressions. And I watch facial expressions a lot with the greats that I've been performing with. And you have that relationship as a musician where you do trust that. You do trust that. And so much so that sometimes I just would stop counting, which isn't the right thing to say as a musician. But I just trusted their leadership implicitly to be able to come in on time.
Because your main job is to keep everybody on track and make sure the sound is what it should be, and the
Balanced.
emphasis should be where it is. Correct?
You've got a score in front of you that a composer has written, a John Williams score, for example, and at some point in time, it's very clear in the notation that he wants a woodwind line to be predominant. Well, you can't let the brass overplay that, and if they are, you remind them, here's exactly. And another factor, too, and I think this is more of a psychological element, is that there's very few places in our society, our American society, where there's autocratic rule. And so one of the last vestiges, everybody say vestiges, is a symphony orchestra where when that conductor stands up, they are autocratic. They're borderline dictatorial. Nobody talks back and say, no, I wasn't too loud. Leave me alone.
I wouldn't say borderline. I mean, to be honest here.
So when you were in 9th grade, 10th grade, and you told your parents that you wanted to be a symphony orchestra conductor or whatever, that's when you discovered
You get to be a dictator.
Dictator.
I grew a mustache. I was only 13 years old.
That's true. Have you seen those pictures?
Anyway, but where I'm going with this is that people know that Toscanini, the great maestro of years ago, was that way. But you can't. You've got to temper that nowadays because people don't like to be bossed around, and nor should they be. They be. But they should be.
Job to do.
They should be encouraged.
Yeah.
To make things excellent. So I think that's a lot of what a conductor does is be that person to encourage us to be the kind of people that audiences would want to pay and buy a ticket to come here.
Yeah.
So your dress, not an actual dress, but the clothing that you wear.
I thought we weren't going to talk about this.
Yeah. I'm like,
oh, sorry, that was just for Dancing with the Stars. Yeah. No, but the conductors have a specific kind of jacket with like flaps.
Yep, tails.
Is that just the decided upon look?
That is left over from the Victorian era. Very few conductors wear tails anymore.
Okay.
Because
Will you
No.
be wearing tails?
No.
Okay.
Oh, Gordon.
Gordon.
Do you have a pair of tails?
Oh, I have tails. Of course I do. But it's left over from the Victorian era where if you're standing with your back to a group, it was impolite to show them your...
Tushy?
Yes. Thank you for that.
Your
behind. So the polite application would be to have tails that would cover your...
Aha.
Backside.
Badonka-donk.
And that's the
Words
origin.
I would have never expected to come out of Shannon's mouth today.
Especially about the symphony, yes.
That's the origin of why conductors wear tails.
Aha.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
So what are you, Hawaiian shirts and flip-flops?
Jurassic T-shirt.
I'm coming out at Halloween time. If you've seen those people that have those big T-Rex costumes,
Yeah.
No, I hope so.
I'll be wearing one of those.
And trying to
perfect.
conduct with T-Rex
Yeah,
arms?
little T-Rex arms.
You should do that for one of the
attention.
Jurassic Park
That's good.
songs. Yeah.
I'm going to hold you to this.
What do you have how many pairs of
Batons.
Batons do
I
you
have 3 batons.
Okay.
And
Only 3.
Are they always a certain
How do you
length?
have more than one?
Well,
Do they
no
get
one
worn
needs
out?
more than one, but like guitarists, they've got a whole room dedicated to
I have 3 batons that I've used for forever and a day, and they're made by a man who has made batons for most of the famous conductors in the world,
Oh wow.
and it's custom made for me.
Oh, so does that mean like a specific grip
Yep,
or
a specific
Really?
handle, and it's a balance. So if you put your finger, even the podcast, I
can't see what's happening?
can't see, but you can balance. It's weightless.
Oh my gosh, really?
Not that it imposes a lot of weight, a baton. But
Right.
anyway, but no, it's weightless, and it's of a specific length.
Huh.
Wow.
and a
So did
specific-
they have to measure your height and everything?
Yeah,
too?
what you do is you hold. It's like getting fit for a suit,
Oh, wow.
So you hold your arm out because everybody has a different length for their arm. And
Yeah.
you hold the arm out, and then if you were to take the baton and point it towards yourself, it should reach where your sleeve meets the body of your jacket.
On your
Oh, wow.
opposing shoulder.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
I'm going to ask the stupid question.
No, do it.
There's no.
I have
stupid
lots
questions.
of.
Why? Like, I understand, like, it is a tool of your trade and it is an important tool, but does the orchestra pay better attention? Do they not be able to see it if it's too short? Or What are...
Well, they're not even looking, remember?
Yeah.
They're not even looking. No, and there's a
You're
lot
just up there doing a little performance
That's
for us.
it's personal preference for the conductor.
Okay.
And some conductors don't use a baton
Oh.
at all because they're uncomfortable holding it because there's people who have tossed it over their shoulder in a concert.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Stab someone in the
exactly.
eye.
They're
I
throwing
can see
it
that
out.
happening.
Yeah.
So some people don't use one. Some people use itty bitty ones. I, because I'm smaller of stature, prefer a longer stick.
Well, there you
Because
have
I
it.
want the people in the
able to
back
reach.
row
Yeah.
to see what's going on.
Which, by the way, we gotta roll out the old podium too.
You gotta. So what? I had a podium built for me, and it's probably 14 inches off the ground,
Nice.
and it makes me look tall.
I like it.
And so when Grant came,
Who is
it made him
very
look
tall.
freakish. It made him look like a giant. So we had to
Perfect.
build
Had
him
to get
another
a different
podium.
podium, yeah.
Exactly. So we're going to have to get the
Well, now I have
funny.
new hopes and dreams. Like Grant's going to conduct from the 14
From the Gordon
inch
one. Yeah.
podium. I just want to see that.
yeah.
That's
yeah.
fantastic.
I
Yeah.
think he had.
Grant, I
think
hope
he
you're-
had to when he was
But I-
auditioning.
I hope you're enjoying this podcast,
Yeah, right.
Grant.
I've got a little carrying case of my 3 batons.
Oh. Do you
One
bring them out
case
to
for
the
all
stage?
3.
One case for all 3. I should have
Okay.
brought it along.
You should
A
have.
long case.
We'd have taken a picture of
Yeah.
it.
And when I walk out onto the stage for any given rehearsal or concert, I open the case and I look at them, and my choice is based on superstition.
Oh.
On where the handle meets the stick itself is wrapped in this thread.
Okay.
And I have one with a gold thread, one with green thread, and one with red thread.
Oh.
And it'll be sort of dependent on how I feel at that particular moment.
So you don't decide which one you're going to use till you walk out
Till
on that
game
stage.
day.
Yeah, but
Ooh.
Right
do you
there.
have
Game
rules?
time decision.
Do you have rules to the superstition, or is it more just?
If it worked really well in the last rehearsal, that's the one I'm going to use.
Aha.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Has it worked well for you?
Yeah.
Oh,
Nice.
Well, he's had an illustrious career,
Yes.
and he's been invited to come back. I think the man
Hopefully
knows what
it
he's
worked.
doing.
Oh, that's funny.
Oh,
What is it? What is it made out of? The
well,
baton.
well, the handle, you can choose any kind of exotic wood,
Oh,
hardwood.
okay.
Yeah.
Mahogany.
Oh, yeah. Rosewood. No, really. It's exotic
Wow.
hardwood.
What about bamboo? Is that not
That's
tough
not,
enough?
I don't think that's a hardwood.
No, it's not a hardwood, but things are made out of bamboo. I was just curious.
I've
Looks
never
very
owned-
It's
said
lightweight, right?
hardwood.
But it's like lightweight, right? You said
Yeah.
it's like very light.
Like
I don't
a-
know. I was just curious
like a
about bamboo.
chopstick, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Those
exactly.
are made out of bamboo.
Thank you. Yes,
Gorgeous.
that's
That
what
would
I was
probably work.
picturing.
Yeah.
well,
I'm going to show up with
I
my
tried bringing
chopstick.
my Harry Potter one. I brought my
Yeah.
Harry Potter one to
Uh-huh.
conducting class once in college, and the professor was not
Not amused.
amused at all. And in that moment, I realized I was never meant to be a conductor because
Because you're
they
like,
don't have
"This
a
is
sense
funny."
of humor.
Oh, yeah.
Ouch.
Gordon does.
Oh,
Yeah.
my.
Grant, on the other hand.
No,
Just kidding.
no,
I don't
no,
know.
he-
Just
Oh,
kidding.
what did he has conducted with lightsabers before.
Oh,
I mean,
nice.
dressed as Darth Vader. I mean,
Perfect.
I mean,
he's
he prepares to be funny.
maybe in the collegiate world, or maybe it was just my experience that
Yeah.
It didn't go so
yeah,
well.
it was just meant to be.
He's
Yeah.
he's yeah. So what haven't we covered that we probably should? I never knew we'd have a good debate on batons.
Well, if you
Well-
if you want to learn more about the Great Falls Symphony, just visit us on our website. We've got tons of information on there about our programs and our outreach as well. And you can get tickets there if you'd like, and learn more about what it is we're doing serving the community.
And more importantly, I really like this new Friday thing where you get drinks and food.
Yeah.
Because that's not a normal occurrence at, let's say, Mansfield Theater. So really unique opportunities that are being presented to residents and travelers alike coming in to experience that in a new way.
Yep.
Get fancy and see all the rest of what Great Falls has to offer. So that's really cool.
Awesome.
And I'd like to acknowledge what you two do in this podcast in making Great Falls. I mean, just really helping people recognize what a special place this is.
There's so many hidden gems, and the
There
symphony is
is.
one of those. That
It is, and when I have guests come in from out of state and they stay a few days, they become just they think they're coming to a small town with fewer amenities,
Yeah.
but they find out what they're missing in the big city, and this very tight sense of community that we have here,
It's
and
true.
how I had one person say, "It's so clever how you use the river as a lake." And I never thought of it that way. But yeah, you're right. We
Yeah,
do.
we do.
Yeah.
You know, we make a part of the Missouri just sort of a really special place to be on
Yeah.
Right.
any given afternoon, walking the trail
That's
or
true.
biking.
You know, the River's Edge Trail was the #1 reason why I decided to move back.
Really?
After getting my degree. I missed it so much. The second reason was actually the symphony for me. They're two of my most loved things about Great Falls, and there's many, many more, of course. But I have a mixed feeling about the work you two do, because now you're telling everyone the secret.
Yeah,
about
right. We're
how
telling
great
everyone
they are.
about it.
We
Yeah.
just want people to come, spend the night, and go back to their home feeling sad they don't live here.
Yeah, there you go.
And you know, I think one of the biggest success stories of the Great Falls Symphony is sitting here at the table, and that's Hillary.
Oh, agreed.
You know, the previous executive director and I had been in place for a long, long time. And so when it came for us to be replaced, as it were, it was sort of difficult. And so when Hillary applied for the job, she was clearly the top candidate. And for her to have taken on this role and have kept the symphony strong and made it stronger in the process is one of the greatest gifts that Great Falls has given to itself.
Agreed.
Gordon.
Wow.
No,
That's it
you
is
know I feel that way. I just love her to death.
But that is so true. The amount of passion it takes to create every year a new symphony experience for people, and then provide us the opportunity to market those experiences to people who don't get to live here, is really a huge labor of love to be able to do that, and such a unique thing for our community, because you know, a lot of people think, oh, it must be tough to do your job, market Great Falls. I'm like, no.
No, there's lots
Yeah, I can
happening.
point to a lot of other communities where I'm like, yeah, wouldn't want to do it there. What do you guys talk about?
Right.
Where here we just have an endless supply of amazing things, and the symphony gets to be part of that cornerstone, along with the River's Edge Trail, of the things that are amazing experiences in our community, which is Montana's base camp for art and adventure.
There you go. I believe it.
Well, and are we missing anything else we should know?
Well, again, I want to thank you for the opportunity to visit with you. What a pleasant morning.
Yeah, well, thank you.
You guys are delightful,
Oh,
and it's
well,
been so
we
much
try.
fun to. No, you succeed. You succeed.
And I will say, stay tuned, because we're partnering up to give some people some tickets to
Absolutely.
enjoy the
Ooh.
symphony
Yes,
this year.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I look surprised because I am, but Shannon did tell me beforehand that was going to happen, which
But
then
we're
sparked me
excited.
to think, oh, we should do like a whole month of giveaway stuff.
Yep.
So stay tuned. We'll be partnering and
Yep.
putting some more information out on our social channels about that to come.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you both for spending your day after Labor Day with us, which is usually
Getting back in the swing here.
a throwaway day sometimes of trying to get caught up, and not here.
Nope.
Not at the podcast studio.
Made
we
it
keep
happen.
it rolling. And we are so grateful you got to share some stories and learn some new stuff about batons, which I think is amazing.
It is really neat. Yeah.
Now I'm a little sad about the one that I have, but we'll talk about that later.
Okay. Oh, that's a whole other story. All right.
So until we see your bright, smiling, happy, beautiful face here in Great Falls, we hope you are creating amazing memories wherever you are. We will see you soon in this wonderful community. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
We're No Dam Experts is the recorded claims from Great Falls, Montana, covering what you need to know about this amazing damn town. Damn, that felt good.